The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Happy Wednesday, Keith Tebow from FRC Media. We are officially in spring as we are recording this video today, and it's on Wednesday. We do speak with Mayor of the City of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan, who joins us as he does every week. Mayor, how are you?
I'm doing great, Keith. How about you?
Glad that spring is here, I'm sure, even though, the weather's a little cool, but, we're in that transition, right?
Yeah, I still remember the year we got the snow in April, so I'll feel good when we're all the way through, but I believe we're in good shape right now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Unfortunately, I want to start with some disturbing news that happened late last week. There were actually 2 homicides in Fall River. One, a shooting on the corner, around the corner of Rock and Franklin Streets. And then there was a stabbing on Tripp Street on Friday. Obviously, the district attorney's office and the police department are doing what they have to do to find the perpetrators. There was one gentleman arrested on the Tripp Street stabbing. There have been some arrests in the shooting, but they were accessories after the fact charges. I guess, what are your thoughts about what happened? I mean, Fall River is going to have crime, but it appears that, these two happening so close sometimes will rattle some people.
Yeah, it rattled me. I mean, the Rock Street shooting, it was obviously some teenagers are just above. The filters aren't all there yet, and they made some poor decisions. And there was I think that this one, I'm not sure that's going to turn out to be nothing more than a personal conflict over a girl fight or a disagreement with a girl. It's, as you said, we don't have all the facts yet, but that's what it seems to be. It was an absolute tragedy. Again, it's crazy that these kids have guns. They're running around with them, and they are not afraid to use them. So it's a big challenge, and I can't tell you, having the ability to follow the investigation a little bit, what great work the Fall River PD did on this. I was there in the afternoon after it happened, and they had already, obviously locked down the street. They were getting all the evidence they could from that site, but at the same time, as with every investigation, they start with their work with cameras. They start with their work with tracking phones. They start with their work with witnesses, and they just ground it out and ground it out and ground it out. And from what I hear, they're in really good shape with the individuals that they were looking for. So hopefully that comes to a resolution via the district attorney shortly. The Tripp Street incident is much more convoluted. We obviously are going to take a statistic for a murder in our city, and other than the incident happening in the city of Fall River, that had nothing to do with Fall River. None of those people were from Fall River. They were placed there by a social service agency out of Boston with little to no supports. I was in the house on Saturday. The incident happened on Friday. A lot of criminals, mental health issues, substance abuse issues. All these people were placed in Fall River with no knowledge that was simply zoned as a 4-apartment building. They were just literally throwing people in rooms, and these two were sharing a room. They did not know each other, each one of them with their own series of issues. And it turned into, they had a fight on Thursday night. Police were there, responded timely, tried to get a handle on it. Of course, they would get no cooperation from anyone in the building. Go back Friday, and it turns into a stabbing where an individual regretfully lost his life. Again, we didn't get that until after it happened, but nobody told us exactly what happened on Thursday, which would have given us the ability to maybe place somebody or work with someone on Friday. We thought the guy alleged he fell down the stairs, and it was just a complete and utter nightmare. Not one of the people in that house had a connection to Fall River in any way, shape, or form. They were from Somerville, they were from Worcester, they were from all over Eastern Mass, but they were not Fall River residents. Some of them had just moved in October. They were sleeping here now, but again, as far as the connection goes, it was slim to none. And we've had numerous conversations with the agency, and they couldn't be more apologetic. But again, that was after the fact, and it is one of the most serious, annoying situations since I've been mayor. I wanted to say something else, but you'd have to beat me out. But it was not fair to the city of Fall River. It was not fair to the residents on Tripp Street, and it was not fair to the people that were put in that house even.
Can something be done now from the city's viewpoint in terms of that dwelling and, the owners of that property moving forward?
Yeah, we're on it, Keith, but it's one of these corporations on paper. We're chasing it. And again, our building inspector was also in there. There were some issues that would have caused us to close the building down. But again, with our cooperation yesterday with the agency, I believe that everybody's out of that house. We're definitely going to check on it later today. So it was not well handled by anybody. Further up the road, Fall River did its best with limited information to try to amend a horrible mistake, but it fell to us only because someone lost their life.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation. Both those incidents are always unfortunate. I want to move forward now to another topic. The school committee met on Monday, and the process has been started to find a new superintendent of schools. Maria Ponce is retiring at the end of June. And the committee started the process of moving forward. Just fill us in on what that process entails. And it's using an organization that is a statewide organization that which this school committee is part of, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. They do a lot of this prep work, correct?
Right. And what they do is they have a 5-phase program where they include the school committee, meaning the Fall River elected school committee, on a number of steps all along the way. Obviously, the screening, the reference checks, the work history, they do all that work that piles up when you have a big position like superintendent in the city of Fall River. And then we set up a search committee, which will probably contain a couple of members of the school committee, a couple people from the community, a couple of people, maybe some retired teachers, maybe somebody from Bristol Community College, and they will then do the initial screening on the candidates, and they will send over the quality candidates that we're looking for to be finally interviewed by the school committee, who will then make the pick. But by the time it comes to us, all the preliminary work will be done, and it's a pretty smooth transaction. I did it actually with the former superintendent Malone. We did the same thing. We had 3 candidates. The final candidates interviews were public. We did them at BCC. And it was very positive, and I like the process. I think it works well, and we go on from there.
What's the projected timeline? Could there be a new superintendent in place by the end of
I got a
June? Will there
meeting with
maybe need to be an interim superintendent?
Well, we'll see, but I don't think we're doing an interim right now. I think we have a meeting before the end of the week with the association to see what they're going to tell us they can do and how fast they can do it, and where we're going. We'll look for recommendations on who other communities traditionally include in that initial search committee, and we'll go from there. I mean, we want something where everybody gets a fair shake. Well, I don't care if they're internal, or external, or coming from halfway across the country. If they want to come here and maybe they got the credentials we want, we're going to keep everybody in the pool and let the initial screening team weed out the ones that aren't quite up to standards, and then they'll turn over the finalists to the school committee.
Yeah. And obviously you want a well-qualified candidate. You don't want to rush the process. You want to keep that deadline in mind, obviously the end of June, but you also don't want to rush the process. You want to get the best individual, right?
Yes. And it's a big job. It is a really, really big job. There's tremendous burnout across the country in those positions. And I was talking to Glenn at the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. He said the pool is not really deep. So again, we're going to fight our way through this interview process. I'd let the screening committee anyway and find out what we get for candidates. So hopefully we get some good ones and we'll go forward from there.
Yeah. And finally, this week, city is looking for input from city residents. The city is part of a settlement. Actually, I believe every community in the state, as well as the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth settled a lawsuit against big pharma. Some big pharmaceutical companies were dealing with opioids and the addiction process in Massachusetts. The state received millions of dollars, and the city is going to be getting, I believe, upwards of $8 million over a 15 year period that is targeted toward substance abuse directives and alleviating those problems here in Fall River. I guess talk about what the goal is that you see the city using this money. I think we talked about it maybe about a year and a half ago. And what input are you seeking from city residents?
Well, we do have that committee that's working on, proposals. My goal is to make sure the money focuses back to the residents of the city of Fall River. First, I don't mind helping other organizations and maybe giving them a share of what we get, but at the same time, we want to make sure we're helping Fall River residents. In our State of the City speech, I guess it was last week, we've had some really encouraging numbers, both in our overdose count and in our fatalities related to opioids. So we're moving in the right direction. It's my hope that this money can help put us over the hump and really reduce overdoses and fatalities with this money. What we want to do first is find a way, focusing on prevention, to get a 5-star curriculum into the schools, whether it's with guest speakers, whether it's with field trips, or whatever we can do to make sure we have an impactful curriculum that talks about the negativity related with opioid use and where you can go wrong, and just drugs and alcohol in general, making sure people are aware of what can happen to them and if they go down that path. And I think that that's one of the key things is prevention, and then we can go down the treatment road and services all across the board. It's funny, they give us all this money, but at the same time, it's probably a drop in the bucket compared to what Fall River spent fighting this opioid battle for a long time. So we're glad we have it, but it doesn't make up for the years of grief that families and residents in the city have had from that and across the Commonwealth.
Yeah. So there's a survey out. It's actually, I believe, in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, where people can just lend their input on where they see potentially how this money can be used. And is there any deadline? Is there a deadline when people can take part? I'm actually looking at it right now.
I don't know of a deadline. I mean, I haven't even talked to Tess this week. I've been been a wacky week, but I'll get in touch with her today. And I'm hoping that the deadline's posted clearly so people know when we'd like to get the information by. That's important.
Yeah, actually, it looks like on the city's Facebook page, the post does not have a deadline. It has a QR code that people can scan and go online. But there appears to be no deadline, at least on the Facebook post. Maybe if you go to the survey itself, you can get more information. Yeah. All right, Mayor Coogan, as always, thank you for your time. We'll talk again next week.
Okay. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
All righty. And thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week.